This film, first and foremost, before we get rolling on this film, I want to make it clear as to why we're not doing the original Friday the 13th, and it's because we're doing slasher icons, and Jason was not the killer in the first movie. That was his crazy-ass mom that created Jason. So
she wasn't that crazy.
Just a little bit. What about my boy?
She was a creepy mother.
She was a creepy mom.
But the sweater, though. That sweater,
damn kids, and they're making love.
If you weren't
baby swim
out on the cabin deck making love, my boy wouldn't have drowned. Let's ignore the fact that I'm a horrible mother that sent him to camp anyway. Kids are going to make fun of a deformed freak.
Aw, she was trying her best.
Wow. She wanted to give him a chance.
Terrible mom. Terrible mom. Friday the 13th Part 2 is a 1981 American horror film directed by Steve Miner. It is the second installment of the Friday the 13th franchise and is a direct sequel from the Friday the 13th that aired in 1980. So 1 year later, they ran with a sequel. It picks up 5 years after the film's conclusion, where a new murderer stalks camp counselors at a nearby training camp. The film marks the first time Jason Voorhees is the antagonist. Like I said before, his mother was the killer in the previous film. That's the word. Friday the 13th Part 2 reproduces certain key elements that made the original Friday the 13th a sleeper hit in 1980, such as first-person camera perspectives, gory stalk and slash scenes, and campground settings. Although it did not reach the original box office success as the first one, the sequel was a financial success overall, grossing $21.7 million in the U.S. on a budget of just $1.05 million. As always, when it comes to these films, we'll start with you on this one, Frank, because I like picking on you.
What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about Sesame Street and the episode where Jason... We're talking about Friday the 13th Part 2. What was your initial thought on the movie?
You couldn't just go with anything.
About Sesame Street, but I don't think anyone's going to listen.
Oh, wow. They don't have a choice. They're locked in now. Initial thought, again, one of those that I saw really and didn't really know what was going on. I probably shouldn't have been watching that anyway. But it was, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to form a real thought.
I know it's hard for you because you're out in Iowa.
Yeah. Thinking's not our strong suit. And I have the first one stuck in my head because we're talking about it, too. I think I've seen that one more, oddly enough. But it's cool that he came back to get some revenge on whores, basically, that sleep around a bunch. That seemed to be it. If you had sex in this movie, you died. And so...
Yeah, it's a winner in my book.
Kind of seemed to be how the rule went.
Carolyn,
kind of cool.
What was your initial thought?
Thank you for moving on.
You're welcome.
Flailing miserably.
Yeah, you were flailing like Jason was in the lake, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what I did there? I linked the two. Carolyn, what was your original thought, or what was your first impression of Friday the 13th Part 2?
I love that movie. I love the Part 1 too, even though we're not talking about it. And like I said in another podcast at Fanboys Anonymous, I think that Jason is just very misunderstood. Like, he was bullied, he had a really hard life, and then he died because two camp counselors weren't doing their job and were making out. So I feel like he's kind of like, I feel bad for him. Like, I get it why he would kill people. Like,
You're justifying his murders?
I understand you, boo.
I got disconnected again, didn't I?
Did you?
Saying reconnected to the server.
Dramatic life, you kind of relive it. And just like you guys said, like, everybody who's hooking up in this movie dies. Yeah, because that's what caused his death. So he goes on and he's trying to punish people that are doing that. Maybe in his head he's trying to make things right. If he kills those people, he might be alive again. So I think that even though he doesn't talk and he seems just like a brute wearing a mask and carrying a machete around, I think he's just like, I don't know, I just feel like I just want to hug him. Like, I like him a lot. And I also think that the deaths in the movie are pretty epic. Like, it's really, really fun to try to guess, like, how that character is going to die. It's cool. I like it.
Gibby, what was your first impression of Friday the 13th Part 2? Please note that there were no babysitters in this, though technically they should have been watching.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually like the whole premise behind it. So basically it's all revolving around...
Time out.
What?
Hold on.
Yes.
You like the premise behind Friday the 13th Part 2, but not Halloween?
Yes. Because if you think about it, it's a ploy on revenge. So basically her mom thought that he died, and he didn't die. So then she becomes Jason, and then she dies in the end of the first one. And then that sprouts him to become Jason and then go on mass killing spree. And it all revolves around Lake, whatever, I forget what the heck that town that the thing is. But it all revolves around basically that camp. I think was it Camp Crystal or something? And so basically everything revolves around that. And if you actually look into it, there's a lot of especially if you go through all of the at least the original ones, they started getting crazy when they started putting them into space and shit. But it's actually quite interesting how it always winds up him with the lake. That's what basically has to quote unquote kill him, pretty much in every one. And yet everything he is revolved around is basically the camp, the counselors, and basically failing him as a child and failing his mother. So
That's a very interesting point you have.
I actually thought that one was actually quite, the story behind that was a lot more clear compared to Halloween. Because basically Halloween is just, oh my god, it's a crazy kid. He's going off the deep end, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Friday the 13th, there's actually is a reason behind how the originals worked. I mean, the originals, when they stayed around the camp. But they have like a bazillion of these now, and they've become to get kind of crazy, and they're almost using him more as an iconic character, more so than actually telling a story behind it. So I actually really, really enjoyed the original Friday the 13th, and I very much appreciated how they were all intertwined and linked together, and basically how this character came to be known as basically almost like a devil type character who basically can't die but can only go into like slumber sleeps at the bottom of the lake. But even in the newer ones, like when he's in space and stuff, if you didn't realize, he lands when he dies, quote unquote, he lands in the goddamn lake. So they're still trying to bring
when he was in space.
Yeah.
When he was in space, that was the best one ever, hands down.
Oh my
god.
Jason X was amazing.
I'm done. I'm off this show.
Jason X was my favorite movie.
That is probably one of the worst ones, by far.
You're one of the worst people on this panel.
Sure.
Supposed to say bias.
But
before we roll into, go ahead. Sorry, but
I enjoyed the originals a lot. I've probably watched the originals multiple times. The only other one that I've watched more is actually on this list, Mr. Freddy. But I love this character that they basically developed and created. I'm done. And I think I'm the only one here now. Oh, guys. You gotta love Jason. Jason is the best. The best. We could just switch cues here and go into much, much, much better genres. But I'll stick with it. As you could tell, people, we're having major technical difficulties. Mr. Dace man over there is in Canada. Can't keep a stable internet connection. Save his life. But we'll see what happens. But for me personally, I enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I enjoyed them as sequels, but not as much in the later as I've been saying. So we're going to go with that. And hopefully Dace calls back in sometime soon. It's my candy bar. Come on. So, yeah. How about Freddy? Oh, come on. So, we're apparently still having technical difficulties. Yes. Done. I thought your show was somewhere else. I'm doing the For Real Movie Club. You just got all kinds of stuff going on. Of course.
Gibby!
Okay.
I made it. I'm
You
here.
made
what
it.
are we talking about? Yeah.
What happened to Dace? He just died, didn't he?
Well, I did what you told me to do, so I got into the studio, or in that way.
All
so
right.
what are we talking about? What's going on? Friday the 13th?
Talking
Good stuff?
about Friday the 13th. You might as well give your opinions on it, because I was going on for an extended time about mine.
You had a lot of opinions.
Well, I actually like the genre. Like I said, like I feel like as a whole, well, the earlier ones as a whole was actually a much better, well thought out, put together concept than the stupid Halloween franchise. Which I think that to me, it's more just slapped together. But enough about Frank. Go to you.
So that they had actual storyline. There was a reason for why he was a killer, other than just crazy, seeking revenge on dirty little teens, kind of deal. Is that what you mean?
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of opinions on it. I guess it's.
Well,
yeah,
how many of you have watched the series?
I get probably I've seen the first one like a million times because that's always on TV. It seems.
That's the one with the mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one to me was actually quite interesting because you really can't have the second one without the first one. Because otherwise, if you didn't have the first one, it really doesn't make sense. The second one. So the first one's more of like a backstory, but it starts off the whole franchise. Whereas I feel like if they had something like that for the Halloween movie, it would probably made it a lot better. Because basically, you just realize the kid's crazy, and you have no idea why and what the hell's going on, and then he just goes around killing friggin' basically babysitters for God knows what reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, it's just because he was mentally deranged. I guess he didn't need to have a reason.
Yep. I guess maybe that was what it was, but to me, I need more of a reasoning behind it, more story-based, where I feel like they did a much better job in Friday the 13th because they really made Jason seem like an actual character.
And the fact of knowing he's already dead. Like,
well,
that adds to it.
In the first one, see, he didn't. It's weird, because in the first one, he doesn't actually die to the end of the second one. His mother thought he died because the camp counselors neglected him, but he didn't actually die. He was just basically hiding in the woods or whatever because the people kept picking.
Yeah, you're right. See,
and
I don't know what I'm talking about.
She went on a murderous rampage, and then he witnessed his mother die at the end of the first one, and that's when basically he snapped, went crazy, and then in the second one, basically it starts out I don't know, I should probably Google it, but the Camp Lacet or whatever it is. So basically what happened then is it's an abandoned, and they just start to try and open it up again, and then basically he's hiding out in one of the cabins for like eons and eons, for like how many ever years, because he's actually grown up at this point, and people start coming back. And he doesn't actually pick up that hockey mask, like the thing that most notifies him until, I would say, towards the end of the movie is when he actually put that on, and that's when he basically becomes Jason, and basically the icon that we see him as today. So Yeah, to me, I thought it was a much, much better movie all around. Because to me, it gave you a much better storyline, and you could feel a lot more for the character of Jason, because you kind of know, as long as you watched them all in progression, you at least understand what's going through his mind to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And they give you a little bit more detail in the other characters as well that he's basically going to eventually kill, except for, the very first scene, which is he's always killing somebody. And they're always doing it for some reason. But that's the other thing. I didn't understand, what was your take on the fact that this is probably one of the first movies that really took, that whole sex appeal into, actually sex on the screen to the extent that Jason or Friday the 13th movies did. Because I'm pretty sure it's in every single one. There's multiple sex scenes.
Yeah, it definitely started getting the ball rolling on, we're going to correlate bloody gore movies with boobs. It's like a trade-off. You get to get scared, but then you get to see boobs. Scared, boobs. Boobs, scared. And then you knew anytime somebody got naked, they were about to die. It was...
Exactly.
It was the key card for nope, keep your bra on. No, boobs. Sorry.
You're going to get it. How are you going to get it?
Sorry for your luck.
And it always seems to be, at least in the first part, it's always somebody in a tent. Always tense. But it's quite interesting, because at least then you understand why. Because, it's at a campground, so obviously they're going to be intense and stuff like that. So it's just, I think it's much, much better put together than all the others.
Yeah, I could see that.
What the hell is going on?
He's trying to get Caroline, she over here. He's trying to backdoor the system too. So we are having technical difficulties.
Major technical difficulties. So it kind of sucks, because I guess we could go into, I don't know what we can go into at this point.
Do you have a high point, low point rating? Because that's a thing that happens.
Yeah, for my high point, I just love the whole storyline aspect of it. I've been harping on this entire time, whereas it actually makes you feel more for the characters. Because basically, if you watch them in sequence, you actually understand what's going on. Now, granted, I am X-naying a lot of the later ones because they get freaking crazy.
Yeah, they just get carried away with Jason being places killing people.
So which I didn't mind, because basically they're just taking an iconic character and basically just selling that character per se.
Yeah.
Not as much as the storyline behind it. At least the original, I think it's the original 6 or so, are pretty much all based around the story. So I actually enjoyed those the most. And then once they started getting crazy, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed them, but they were just getting kind of really out there. I can't believe Dace even said he liked the one in space, because that one to me made no effing sense whatsoever. But yeah, that to me is by far my highest point. As for the low point, I would actually say that, to be honest, I thought it was kind of overdone with the whole sex scenes and stuff like that. I really felt like they were almost forcing it into each one. Because it's literally multiple times in every single one, which I found kind of really forced in. Not necessarily something that needed to be there, but they just felt like they had to be there. I guess just because the originals did it, so they just kind of kept compounding on it, and it's at that point, it's every person that died had to have a sex scene. So that would be my biggest issue with the franchise. And then for the actual numbering, I would definitely have to give this a solid 9 in total, by far. So yeah. How about you?
Am I back?
You're back.
Everybody's back.
Yay! Okay.
Hooray! That was painful.
Sorry, I am very slow with computers, guys. Sorry, I apologize.
I have one that could rival your slowness. Mine is pathetic.
All right.
We were just going
so
over
talking about
our high point, low point, and rating of Friday the 13th or whatever we were talking about. Not Sesame Street.
Yeah, we kind of
we
already went through everything, and we're at the end because there's only two of us here, so it went by pretty quick.
Fair enough.
But I guess we could start with we could go back to your guys.
Yeah, you guys can talk for a while.
I have no opinions. I'm a moderator. I seem to be doing that very well.
Yeah, you are not doing very well.
What franchises?
You're the kind of host that throws a party and then goes to bed and let everybody else hang out.
Oh, what you did there. So we'll talk to Carol. She's favorite, and you two talk. When it comes to the franchise, I don't know about it. But what do you feel as when it comes to all sequels?
I have no idea what's going on right now.
Oh my god.
Am I back?
Ish.
I think we got to
just type in the question.
But yeah, so this is a technical problem.
Is this just an interview with Brian?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hi. You sound beautiful.
Okay, good, because I was like hearing a bunch of interference, and I wasn't sure if I was like dropped or not. So you want me to answer that question, like high points, or are we moving on to another movie?
You can do with the high points, low points, and the 10.
Cool. I love the movie. I think that is a very fun horror movie. I mean, the death scenes are cool, especially when the couple is in the bed and they get impaled together. That was pretty cool. I think Jason is a very awesome villain. The fact that he has a machete, I think it's pretty badass. And the low point, you're gonna kill me for this, but maybe Jason's face was the lowest point of. Oh no! Shocking! Oh my god! Just because I don't know. I think of Jason. I think and Crystal Lake. So to me, that didn't. Forcing it a little bit, and I will rate this movie as a solid 8 because it deserves it.
Okay.
Frank, did you rank it?
No, I didn't yet.
Okay.
I was about
I guess
to,
we can hear your opinion. Go ahead.
You don't have to hear my opinion. My high point is a lot more boobs.
I find it hilarious that your high point and that was my low point.
Yeah.
Wait,
I don't
what?
Hold on.
I missed that?
Yeah,
his low point was there was too much sex.
Exactly.
He thought it just didn't make sense why there were so many people boning all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay in the beginning, but then I feel like the later the franchise got on, it was just almost like it was forced in because it was in all the other ones, therefore they had to keep it going. More so than needing to actually be in there.
I just think it's a reward system for, hey, we're going to scare you, but here's some boobs. So it's just a, ooh moment.
Okay.
The only man that lives in Iowa, leave me alone. Anyway, the low point is I really don't have much of a low point, really. I mean, no low point.
Oh, wow.
So what would you rank it on 1 to 10?
Well, it can't have a 10 because that's just rude. So how about 9? Even.
Very nice.
Even.
So
there we go.
We will now be leaving Crystal Lake and heading to a famous street.
Sesame Street,
where
a
pedophile did his business. So if you're listening to this live, hopefully I stay with you for most of it. If you're listening to it on YouTube, you're probably hearing a lot, and I apologize. Hang in there. Click onto the next video, and we're going to talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street.